Yeah, at this point, I think Kris deserves to lose custody of his kid. Hey guys, Society Reviews here, and I want to talk about this story real quick because this is something that we've been covering a little bit over the last couple of months, and it seems like it's now taken an even darker turn than it had been before. So before I get started here, I want to go ahead and let you guys know, if you guys are just now checking out this video and you guys haven't checked out our Sunday Night Bible Lens podcast, over the last couple of weeks, we've been doing a series on Pride Month. And if you guys haven't checked out episode 47 and episode 49, we went through some very, very eye-opening and revealing details about the origins of the LGBTQ movement and how it directly correlates and goes all the way back to the worship of two ancient demon gods that are mentioned in the Bible that you guys may know as Ashtaroth, and going all the way further back as Molech as well. And I implore you guys to go back and check out those episodes, because when you understand how all this started in its origin, I know we look at it from the realm of kind of the present day, and we've seen the stuff progress with the LGBTQ over the last 20 years, and we think that somehow that's where it started. This is not where it started. This has been going on for literally thousands of years, and you really have to go back and understand how we got to this point. And when you do come to that realization, what's happening here makes a lot more sense. So let's go ahead and just talk about this story here for a second. Kris Tyson, who is one of Mr. Beast's best friends. If you guys don't know who Mr. Beast is, he's basically the biggest YouTuber on this platform. I think the last time I checked, he had somewhere about 250 million subscribers. The last time that I checked, I don't really know his exact number at this point, but he has a lot of subscribers, a whole lot. And there's a lot of people from various age groups, from kids to teens to the early adults and stuff like that, who all watch Mr. Beast's content. He's mostly known these days for being the money guy. So if you guys watch his recent content, he's always, giving away money. He's always doing these competitions or these game shows where he has people competing for $100,000, $10,000, whatever the case may be. And a lot of people subscribe to him because they want an opportunity to be put in a position, I should say, where they can also win his money later on in the future. And over the last several years, if you've watched him long enough, you know who Kris Tyson is. He's been in plenty of Mr. Beast's videos. But there's been a troubling development over the last couple of years. I think this all started roughly about 2 years ago, if I'm certain there. And him and his wife, and this is a picture of him a few years back with his wife and his then young child at the time. And there's rumors swirling around that apparently his marriage was in trouble, that they weren't in a good place. They kind of kept everything on the hush for a little while, but then it became brutally clear exactly why he was having marital problems. And it's because Kris, who at the time was Kris spelled with a C, decided that he was going to transition into a woman. And he was going to be known as Kris with a K now, because I guess Kris with a K is a more feminine I guess name, if you're going with that. And apparently now he wants to be known as Ava. So there's a whole lot to unpack here, but let's kind of rewind for a little bit. Kris came out as a woman, quote unquote, a couple of years ago. He did the little media rounds, and this upset a lot of people. There's really stuff, and rightfully so, because what you're having here is that you're having a guy who is cosplaying as a woman, who wants everyone to refer to him as a woman, even though there's still a multitude of content out there that clearly shows him as a man. We're also pretend like he's a woman now. Outside of that, if he was a single guy, whatever, right, in the grand scheme of things. But that's not exactly what happened here. This is a man who quite literally destroyed his marriage and his relationship with his kid so that he can live out his fetish of being a woman in the world. And that upset a lot of people, especially people who, respect their own marriage, who respect their relationship with their kids, being a father, being a husband. And then we're told in the culture that we're supposed to completely be on this person's side because, hey, it's 2024 and people can do this now and we shouldn't look down on it. In no other context whatsoever will we look at a man who destroyed his own relationship with his wife and his kids and somehow look at him as the hero in any other situation. If this was Joe Schmo who worked at Walmart down the street and he destroyed his marriage because he was sleeping with some intern, or he was like drinking, or whatever the case, whatever the vice is, if he ruined his own marriage and ruined his relationship with his son, nobody will be hailing him as a hero. Everyone will view him as a villain, and rightfully so. But somehow, because this person decides that he's trans now, we're all supposed to sit here and celebrate this. And a lot of people are not buying it. A lot of people are not going for this at all. There have been a few people who have called out Kris, and I'm going to refer to him as Kris with a C because that's his name. I'm not referring to him as Ava or even Kris with a K. His name is Kris. And there's been a lot of people who have come out over the last, I guess you could say, few weeks, because this has been going on for a little bit now. But apparently, Kris is going around going after people who are not affirming his new gender identity, and that includes some of his former colleagues, I guess I should say. I wouldn't say that they're friends, but they're people who, you know, years ago at early stages of the Mr. Beast channel, he was working with them for like content videos, stuff like that. His name's Sneeko here, who's, like I said, he's a guy who I'm not very fond of either, but you know, let's call a spade here. He went after Sneeko after Sneeko made pretty much similar comments that everyone else has made about this whole situation. You can see here that he says that Jimmy being Mr. Beast's real name, by the way, kept the tranny and not your loser ass. And then Sneeko replies that I became my own man, you leashed off of one and still failed, right? But what really broke this whole thing down was a interaction with FaZe's Nick Merckx, who I'm not too familiar with. I know he has a significant following of his own, but this was a situation where once again, Kris decided to go after this guy based off of, I guess, recent comments that he made. And then Nick's replied to this by saying, you should be ashamed of yourself, leaving your wife and child behind to play pretend. One day you'll wake up and you realize what you have done. Now, the interesting thing about this is that Mr. Beast responded to this to defend Kris. So there was a lot of people out there that I guess were trying to create this narrative that somehow Mr. Beast is uncomfortable with Kris's transition, that, you know, he didn't want it for his brand and stuff like that. Mr. Beast is making it very, very clear whose side he is on here. He has defended Kris on multiple occasions here. And when this came out, Mr. Beast went on his Twitter page and he said this: Ava is literally always with her kid. First of all, like I said, we're now supposed to call this man Ava because it fits his new gender identity, and we're now supposed to refer to him as a her. So I'll get to this here when we talk about the kid. We'll just stop here for a second. But he says that Ava is literally always with her kid and doesn't go on shoots or spends more time with him. Tuckman, I guess the kid's name is Tucker, if I'm not mistaken. You can correct me if I'm wrong there. I'm just assuming. Tuckman is always smiling. Not sure why this rumor is a thing. So he went on, I think, a few instances here trying to defend Kris, or what he likes to call now Ava, for people accusing him for being a homewrecker and destroying any kind of healthy relationship with his son here. So, like I said, at that point, it was mostly he said, she said, back and forth, right? Here's where things started to get disturbing, and really disturbing, especially, like I said, if you guys have been following our Sunday Night Bible Lens podcast, we've been covering this topic very specifically over the last couple of weeks. But this is a photo that went viral over the last day or so. I don't know if this is a recent photo, like something that just came out in the last couple of days, or maybe this has been around for months and people are only just now seeing it. But apparently this is Kris. It's not named Ava on Snapchat. I was kind of surprised people still use Snapchat. But here is Kris with a picture of his son. And you notice that his son is wearing essentially little baby heels. Keep in mind, this kid is his son, and of course it says here, Tucker chose to slay this morning. So here's where we're going off the rails here. If we haven't already gone off the rails, now we're really going off the rails. I mentioned this last week on our episode, I believe it is 49 of the Bible Lens podcast. Please go back and watch that if you have not seen it already. We've gone over a lot of this stuff. Is that there's a push now over the last few years trying to normalize this idea of transgender children. And what they're trying to normalize is this idea that children between the ages of like 3 years old to like 9 years old just naturally decided on their own volition with no pushing and prodding of their parents whatsoever that, hey, this kid decided that he's gay now, or hey, this kid decided that he's trans now. We're going to raise him as a trans boy, as a trans girl. And this has been a very, very popular trend in Hollywood and in the entertainment world over the last several years. I can name a whole list of people who come to mind. Dwayne Wade and his son, I'm pretty sure you guys have seen. Charlize Theron adopted a kid from Africa and then claimed that at 3 years old, that kid came out as trans, has been raising him as a girl this entire time. So many other stars, Jamie Lee Curtis, Marsha Gay Harden, like Megan Fox, Leigh Schreiber, so many people are all coming out saying that their kids are trans now, and this is all natural. This is all, they're trying to normalize this. And here's exactly what's going to happen here, is that if there isn't any intervention at this point in time, what you're going to see is that in a couple of years, Kris, who wants to be referred to as Ava, in a couple of years, he's going to present his son as a trans kid. And he's going to gaslight you into thinking that his son's decision to become trans or non-binary or whatever made-up term they want to use was a completely natural decision. That there was no influence whatsoever. Nobody poked and prodded him. Nobody set him up to be the poster child of the LGBTQ movement. It was completely natural. It's completely normal. And now you need to respect my son's gender identity at the age of, I don't know how old this kid is. He could be like 5, 6. Who knows? Maybe he looks a lot younger here, but very, very disturbing. And this is the move forward now. This is where we're going with this whole situation. And to take this even a step further, I know there's a lot of young people out there who watch Mr. Beast's YouTube channel. And then here's where they want to push this agenda on you and people in your household. And this is why I've been saying for years now, if you're a young parent out there and you have an impressionable young child in your household, do not, under any circumstances whatsoever, allow television or internet to raise your kids, because they're going to feed your children some demonic, immoral stuff. And if you are not there to actually parent your children and keep them from this ideology that is seeking to damn them and corrupt them, your kids are going to end up damned and corrupted because you sat back and you did nothing to stop it. But here's the important part. A lot of kids watch Mr. Beast. I believe he has a Tubi channel or a Pluto TV channel, one of those two. He definitely has a Tubi channel. I don't know if he has Pluto as well. I think he may be on Roku. So if you go watch his channel, it's a 24-hour loop of just all of his YouTube content recycled onto a nonstop channel. So when you're watching this, you're seeing his old content, right? And his old content, this person in this picture right here, who was clearly a dude in the old content, is clearly a man, is clearly a father and clearly a husband at this time period. No mistake whatsoever. But then in the newer content, the more recent stuff that's come out over the last year and a half, now he's all dressed up like a woman. Now he's all dressed up into his gender identity. And what's going to happen is that at some point, if your kid's a big fan of Mr. Beast and has been watching this, especially if he's very young and impressionable, you're going to get hit with the question. It's like, oh, mommy, daddy, or whatever the case may be. This guy was clearly a guy or a boy in these earlier episodes, and now he's a woman. What's up with that? And then that's going to pressure you as a parent to now have to give your young impressionable child, who probably shouldn't be thinking anything about gender identity and sexual identity whatsoever at their young age. Now you're going to have to sit there and tell your kid exactly what's going on with this person from this popular YouTube channel that he likes and why all of a sudden he was a boy before and now he's a woman, right? And the conversation that they want you to have is that they want you to normalize this. They want you to think that, oh, well, you know, Billy, some people, when they were born in the wrong gender, they may have been born in the wrong body, but then later up, they realize that they're the other gender and they decide to transition. That's the spiel that they want you to give. What, of course, the spiel that they don't want you to give, which is the truth, is that, yeah, there's a demonic agenda that's been pushed in our society, in our world for thousands of years. It goes all the way back to ancient Babylon, where there was men at the time period worshiping a false demon god called Ishtar. And in order to show their loyalty and worship to this demon, they were transitioning themselves from male to female, and other people were also going female to male. This is the origin of the transgender ideology that goes all the way back to ancient Babylon. The prophets of Ishtar were actually drag queens. There's another a big eyeliner of what you see in our current society today. So what they don't want you to tell your little impressionable kids is that, yeah, this is a agenda straight out of the mouths of hell that is being pushed on you, because there's this person called the devil, Satan, who wants you and everyone close to you to go to hell by believing this absolute lie. And then what they want you to be completely separated from is the biblical truth of God made people male and female, and that's the end of the story. There is no third option. No such third option exists. Everything else is either a perversion, straight up mental illness, or who knows, we may even be dealing with demon possession at this point. That's the conversation that they don't want you to have with your kids. They want you to just be like, oh yeah, this person's a woman now, so accept it. No, I don't think that that's going to happen. So what is the takeaway here from this story? Is that you have a clearly disturbed person who, look, I don't know what the objective is in this person's mind, whether this person watched way too much tranny porn growing up and now thinks that, you know, he wants to live his life as a woman because porn has completely warped his brain, whether he's somehow actually dealing with mental issues that think that he's actually a woman and that he could somehow gaslight the world into thinking himself that he's a woman. Or maybe it's just a financial grift. Maybe this is, well, if I just prove to the club that, you know, I'm willing to play ball and I'm willing to emasculate myself for great fame and fortune, because let's be very honest here, we do know who his friend is. We do know his friend is very wealthy. A lot of people kind of question where that wealth comes from. That's a story for another day. But we all know that in order to be a part of the club, if you're going to be the biggest YouTuber on the platform, there's some things that you have to do in order to show your allegiance. Maybe this is it. Maybe it's no deeper than that. Whatever the case is, there's something really, really sinister going on here. And I really hope that at some point, you people pay attention to exactly what's happening here, because I tell you this right now, that is going to get far worse before it gets any better. We are on a path quite literally to destruction. And I think Eric July put it perfectly, because Eric July just did a video not so long ago about this. And it's like, with the way that we're going and the route that we're going very rapidly, if God does decide to do something to our country, to our entire world at this point where we've gone, where we've headed, and what we have allowed up to this point, I think it's pretty safe to say that we probably deserve what's happened or what's going to happen next.